Welcome. We're back. I know it's been so long. We are back. I see you. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to The Issue Live. I'm your host, like always. Man, it's been a long time. I hope everybody's doing well. I've been well. As you can see, I'm getting fat in the face. I haven't missed a meal. Promise you. But other than that, how's everything going? How you been? How you good?
I've been straight, man. Been waiting for these episodes to come through. Now that we're finally back to normal.
Yeah, it's nice to be back in the studio, man. It feels good. Feels great. So before we get into today's episode, I was supposed to have Jamie on, and we're still gonna have Jamie on. He's just gonna be at the end of the episode instead of in the beginning because he's a fucking asshole. But he's still my partner. That's my guy. But we're gonna have to push him back to the end of the episode. So we're gonna run through it all, and then we're gonna have our special illustrious guest, Dr. Jamie Rutland, on there to give us a COVID-19 update. But until then, we got a lot of show to get into. So let's get right into it. Leading off with our first story would be Jon Stewart had an appearance on Stephen Colbert's show. And before we run the video, you know, Stephen Colbert used to do a comedy satire show where he played a character of a conservative. And it was a brilliant show. He's probably one of the more brilliant comedic shows that was on cable television at the time with that character that he had. It was brilliant, you know. And then all of a sudden Donald Trump got elected and he turned into a fucking shit liberal, and now he's all woke and shit, and the show sucks. He's on late night television and the show's fucking trash. But the one bright spot that since he's been on late night television is this appearance by Jon Stewart, where he goes on a very interesting rant. Let's check it out.
We owe a great debt of gratitude to science. Science has in many ways helped ease the suffering of this pandemic, which was more than likely caused by science. So, and that's kind of...
Hold on, what's that?
No. Listen.
It's coffee. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to you. What do you mean by that? Do you mean like perhaps there's a chance that this was created in a lab? There's an investigation.
A chance?
Well,
oh my
if there's
God.
evidence, I'd love to hear it.
There's a novel respiratory coronavirus overtaking Wuhan, China. What do? Oh, you know who we could ask? The Wuhan novel respiratory coronavirus lab. The disease is the same name as the lab. That's just a little too weird, don't you think? And then they ask the scientists, they're like, how did this... So wait a minute, you work at the Wuhan respiratory coronavirus lab. How did this happen? And they're like, a pangolin kissed a turtle. And you're like, no. The name of your lab. If you look at the name, let me see your business card. Show me your business card. Oh, I work at the coronavirus lab in Wuhan. Oh, because there's a coronavirus loose in Wuhan. How did that happen? Maybe a bat flew into the cloaca of a turkey and then it sneezed into my chili, and now we all have coronavirus. Like, come on.
Okay, wait a second.
What about this? Listen to this.
Wait a second.
All right.
John.
Oh my God. There's been an outbreak of chocolatey goodness near Hershey, Pennsylvania. What do you think happened? Like, oh, I don't know. Maybe a steam shovel mated with a cocoa bean. Or it's the chocolate factory. Maybe that's it.
That could be.
You know, and if you ask me, that's fucking brilliant. You know, it uses comedy to bring up a real point, which is that, you know, in the beginning of this pandemic, it was sort of taboo to say to suggest that this virus came out of a lab or leaked out of some lab for for whatever reason, because it would be deemed as racist for whatever fucking reason. Even though the idea of it, even though the idea of Chinese people just eating weird bats and shit like that, like that's not racist. It's not racist to suggest that this came from bats and Chinese people just eat crazy weird shit and it more likely came from that. It's racist to suggest it came out of a lab that's in Wuhan where they study the exact same thing that's affecting us. That's not the weird part. And I just think, Jon Stewart just using comedy, he couldn't have said it any better. He could not have said it any better. And, the media has put Dr. Fauci up on this high pedestal because of, at the time, Donald Trump being the president. He was looked at, Donald Trump is the fucking antichrist to liberals. So, Dr. Fauci was the savior. He was the good doctor, out there telling people the truth, even though he's a known liar. He told everybody in the beginning of the pandemic that masks don't work. Then he came out and said masks work. And then we just got copies of his leaked emails that even though after he said that no, masks do works, he still believes in his leaked emails that masks don't work. And so I thought that was an interesting video to show to you guys today of Jon Stewart making a very good point. And it doesn't take a genius, okay? Like he says, the name of the lab is the name of the virus, Like it's quite a coincidence. And for a long time in the mainstream media, all they did was suggest that if you were pushing this notion or this idea that this virus came out of this lab, that it was somehow racist, or they would set up any story about the lab leak, a theory of it being debunked, even though there's no evidence that debunks any theory of this virus leaking out of that lab. And so finally, we are starting to get there with reports out of what's the journalist, Josh Rogan. Broke a lot of stories pertaining to this Wuhan, to the lab leak theory. And it's looking day to day, it's looking more and more likely that this didn't happen from some bat biting a fucking pangolin and some Chinese person eating that pangolin. And, am I muted?
No. Oh. That's desktop audio. You're down here on the mic.
Oh, sorry about that, guys. So, the idea that some bat ate some pangolin and then some Chinese person came along and ate that pangolin and that's how the pandemic started, that seems a little way more far-fetched than a lab that's been cited for many safety violations that studies these very type of viruses. That also had, I think the Washington Post came out with the story that said that two employees that worked in this Wuhan Institute of Virology, or this lab, as early as November, came down with COVID-like symptoms, and then next thing you know, through December, January of 2020, when the pandemic first started. And here we are, 2021, just now barely, getting to the tail. Hopefully, we're on the tail end of this pandemic and we'll be able to move forward.
Are we on the tail end of discovering the truth, though?
Who knows? Because, the fucking worst thing about fucking Donald Trump is just how polarizing he is. Like, I wish Donald Trump would have said, no, this thing came from bats. Because then everybody would have been looking at the Wuhan lab then, Like, that's the shit about Donald Trump. And it's like, I always have to preface this and tell everybody that I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I don't like the guy. Didn't vote for him at all. But people lost their fucking minds. So everything that he said, everybody automatically went to the opposite of. And it's so ridiculous, man. And that's the worst thing about Donald Trump. It was just how polarizing he is.
Did you watch those interviews? Like, not those interviews, but those press conferences? So before people could say anything,
it comes from China.
Yeah. So, was it believable to you then more than what it is now? Or do you feel kind of dumb if you didn't believe it?
I always felt that it came from that lab.
But okay. So
I always felt that way because I mean, the lab is in the same place where it started. Like, and then you're gonna say that it started in some wet market from some bat that took, like, that sounds so crazy. So, when the actual lab is right there, like, and I didn't know the details from the lab, especially as far as like the safety violations. Here's another cool thing about the fucking whole lab thing. You know, Dr. Fauci, right? He's the head of the NIH, National Institution of Health Organization, whatever. He basically doles out money, basically. So he heads up the National Health Institution, which funds certain avenues of science when it comes to virology, right? He funds these places. And so what happened is there's a thing called gain of function research. And what gain of function research is so these labs, these high level security labs, they take a virus and they basically just make it more and more dangerous so they can study it and they make it evolve so they can study it in case of if something if something like that comes into the real world, they know how to deal with it, or they know what it is, what it looks like, something like that, right? But that was deemed very dangerous, right? And so Barack Obama put the brakes on that shit. Put the brakes on the funding of gain of function, whatever the fuck you call it, gain of function research. Barack Obama put the brakes on all that, right? So when Donald Trump got elected, Dr. Fauci found a way to basically go around it by just saying, well, this isn't gain of function research. It's whatever the fuck he wants to call it. It's the same exact thing as gain of function research, just by a different fucking name. And then instead of him giving the money directly to this Wuhan lab, because the same lab that's in Wuhan that studies these coronavirus, we used to have here in the United States. I think it was in like Missouri. I'm probably wrong, but it was somewhere in the United States. It was shut down during the Obama administration, and they went off and they built the one in China, and they had built the one in China. And so instead of Dr. Fauci then directly sending that money and those funds to that Wuhan lab, he sent it through a third party, basically. And Dr. Fauci and that's the thing. People want to make it about it being a racist thing or something. It has nothing to do with Chinese people. Because the fact that if it did leak out of this lab, that doesn't implicate just China. It implicates us as well. And that's the part, you know? And that's the biggest part that upsets me in the first place. It's like you know, all we want to know is how this shit happened. That's all we want to know. It has nothing to do with whose fault it is. We need to know when and how, where this happened, so it does not happen again. Because I'm telling you, nobody wants to go through this shit no more, man. Nobody wants to go through this again, man. Nobody wants to shut their lives down and have to fucking figure out what they're gonna do or how they're gonna pay their rent. You know, nobody wants to go back on unemployment, figure out how nobody wants to do this shit, man. So we need to get to the bottom of it. And so for them to, from the beginning, just totally pretend like this lab leak theory was just some conspiracy, you know, was the fucked up part, you know. And I'm glad that Jon Stewart went on Stephen Colbert's show and through comedy brought that point up. And I thought it was a very good point, you know.
Yeah.
But with that being said, let's move on to our next topic, which is fucking Joe Biden. So the president of the United States is Joe Biden. If you guys don't know, I'm sure you do. And if you're fans of this show and you watch this show, you know how much we like to talk about Joe Biden and everything that comes along with him. So there's a clip, right? And I'm sorry to tell you guys, but Joe Biden is losing whatever little is left of his mind. And in this clip I'm about to show you, you'll see that he confuses Syria with Libya several times. And he's clearly struggling to speak. And let's just watch the clip.
We could work together with Russia. For example, in Libya, we should be opening up the passes to be able to go through.
You already toppled Libya.
Provide food assistance.
We already waged that war.
Vital assistance to a population that's in real trouble. I think I'm going to try very much hard to. It is. And by the way, there's places where I shouldn't be starting off with negotiating in public here, but let me say it this way: Russia has engaged in activities which we believe are contrary to international norms, but they have also bitten off some real problems they're going to have trouble chewing on. And for example, the rebuilding of Syria, of Libya, they're there. And as long as they're there without the ability to bring about some order in the region, and you can't do that very well without providing for these basic economic needs of people. So I'm hopeful that we can find an accommodation where we can save the lives of people in, for example, in Libya.
Okay. I didn't learn shit from that.
It's rough. The man, you can't be mad at people who see that and feel like he might not make it to the end of his term. You can't be mad at people for thinking that. I mean, you fucking hear him. The man talking about they're in Libya, like Joe Biden. It was your president. I mean, it was your vice when you were vice president. You guys already toppled Libya. You know what they did to Gaddafi? They sodomized him with a fucking machete. They turned Libya into a failed state with open slave markets now. You know, Libya is one of the most advanced countries in this world. Free healthcare, free education. It was one of the most sophisticated nations. And we turned it into a failed state with open slave trade. That's what it is now in Libya. And I don't even know why. Like I said, he shouldn't even be bringing Libya up. He's trying to say what he's talking about is Syria, where Russia is. Russia is in Syria right now, and that's what he's trying to say. But again, his brain cells are barely hanging on. And then, not too long later, he comes out with another video where he's just outright lying, talking nonsense about America's place and you'll see. Watch the video, you'll see.
His credibility worldwide shrinks. Let's get this straight. How would it be if the United States were viewed by the rest of the world as interfering with the elections directly of other countries, and everybody knew it? What would it be like if we engaged in activities that he is engaged in? It diminishes the standing of a country that is desperately trying to make sure it maintains its standing as a major world power.
That's like a regular Thursday for us. We regularly interfere with other countries' elections. We regularly overthrow governments and put in puppets that'll do our bidding. We do that on the regular. That's why these countries around the world can't fucking stand us. Because if they implement any type of regime that doesn't bow down to American imperialism, we just overthrow them. I'm not here to support any type of dictator. Like, what's my guy in Iraq that we took down? Saddam. Saddam Hussein was a horrible, horrible, horrible person. Horrible dictator. Horrible. But us going into Iraq and toppling his regime did nothing for anybody. It didn't help us. It didn't help the Iraqi people. It didn't do anything but destroy a country that we're still in to this day. Excuse me. Still. We invaded Iraq in 2003. I was in middle school. I'm 31 years old now. And we're still there. Jesus fuck. And for what? For what? What are you there for? What if America interfered? And that's a regular fucking Thursday. We do that on a daily fucking basis. Poor fucking guy. He's losing his mind. He really is. And, you know, I'm sorry. I don't think he's going to get through his term. Maybe he will. And then even if he does get through his term, the idea that he'll be able to run a whole nother campaign and serve another 4 years, good luck. Good luck, bucko. We'll see. Moving on to our next topic is, so the NCAA, which is basically a scam organization if you ask me, but the Supreme Court ruled that the top athletes will get additional educational scholarship benefits that could lead to athletes getting paid in a unanimous decision. Now, this isn't them telling the NCAA that they need to pay these student athletes. This is them basically saying you can't cap the benefits that they get. And this opens the door to a pathway for them to have some type of monetary gain. Now, if you ask me, right, and I do like college sports. College basketball is my favorite. And I don't think schools should pay kids. I don't. I know that sounds crazy. I don't think they should pay the kids. I think they should get their full ride scholarships. I think they should get the free meals and everything else that goes along with it. But what I think should happen, right, is these kids should be able to make money off of their names. That's what should be able to happen, you know. So if they want to come out with a video game, they make money off of that video game. If they want to have a YouTube channel, they make money off that YouTube channel. Because currently, college athletes, they can't even have a job, you know, which is crazy. They can't even have a job. They can't sell their autograph for money. They can't do like a signing or something like that, you know. So I'll go to a Barnes and Nobles, and people bring my jersey, and I'll sign them for $20 a pop. A college kid couldn't do that. That's what I think needs to change. I don't think necessarily a college should start paying these student athletes because of what door that opens. I think that's a tricky one, but I do think these kids should be able to monetize themselves. And do you have anything to add to that?
I mean, I think you're right. Schools definitely shouldn't be paying because they gotta pay everybody. They got back pay. You know what I'm saying? There's so many people that made their money that they need to give up money for or something like that. Like, there's no, in addition to like this, it's like they weren't just they always had that angle of protecting student athletes. But it was just clearly just stopping them from doing whatever it was, so that way they could be the only one to monetize on those athletes.
Yeah.
It's like having a 1-of-1 every time. You always no one else can monetize off LeBron James for the next year that I have him. No one else can monetize off. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. No bar can show a game and make money off of the revenue that LeBron James brings to this bar while he's playing the game. Shit like that. It's wild, right? Yeah. And like you take a school like LSU, who has like one of the small, like it's a major school. Where they're in the SEC, I believe, with one of the lowest admission rates as far as students goes, but they're $1 billion fucking school. Like, how do you think they get that money? Where do you think that money comes from? It comes from fucking students, you know. So they should be able to. If you start signing college kids to fucking lucrative contracts and shit like that, you know, I think that opens up a door to some other sliminess that can get ugly. I do. I don't think that's a door they should open. But I do think as long as you allow these kids to monetize, to make money off of their name, to go and sign jerseys and make money off of it, to exchange whatever, whether it's tattoos, whether it's a fucking some booster that wants to buy him a house, whatever it may be, that should be fine, you know. But as far as the school itself, but I mean, you know, that gets murky too, you know.
At the end of the day, it's only the top athletes.
Yeah, we're talking about like 10 people
that get hurt by that.
Yeah.
No one wants to go and fucking...
Or 20, something like that.
What's his name? Who's the... I don't know. There's somebody that's going to come out of Villanova this year that's a senior, that's going to ball out, that's going to be a top 20 pick.
Yeah.
But no brand in the world is going to look to sign him to be the face of their college.
True.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like their little college thing. But everybody's going to want Ben Simmons. Everybody's going to want Zion. And everybody's going to pay those people. It kind of sucks for those other kids. You know what I mean? But at the same time...
Yeah, but it's, you know...
It's not really... They go to college knowing that
exactly.
I'm going to be here for 4 years.
Exactly.
And I have to do this.
Exactly. They're not... It's not like... The kids who go to college that know they're going to be pro, you know, they know that from their, like, time they're in fucking 8th grade. You know what I mean? It's not a secret. Most of these kids, especially when it comes to basketball, football, you know, these kids know, you know what I mean? They've had scouts watching them since they was in middle school. They know where they're gonna land. It's not like we're talking about hundreds of kids. I mean, how many people get drafted in the NBA in a draft? Yeah. Like 100?
60.
There were 60 people.
60, that's
so you're talking about 60 kids out of like over 10,000 students, college student athletes. Over 10,000. You're talking about 60 kids. And that's just in basketball.
And then imagine having to negotiate a contract with each one of those kids, a 4-year contract. What does that look like for a Zion?
Yeah.
Yo, we want you here for 4 years.
But then, so what if a Zion, instead of he doesn't get that contract from the school, but Nike is allowed to come in while as long as he's an adult, I should say, 18, 19 years old, as long as they're an adult, can come in, and even honestly, I would say even. You might not have to put the stipulation that he's an adult, but that's just for argument's sake, you know? Let's say they just have to be 18 years old. They can sign a contract with Nike while he's still in college and make money off endorsements.
But that's the thing, though.
But that's separate from his college. That's endorsement money. It has nothing to do with the school.
It is, but what do you think the likelihood is of Nike coming to Zion and say, yo,
I think it's very likely.
We're going to sign you to the however long, like let's just say this next year that you're going to go to college. But you can't go to Duke. You got to go to Kentucky. There's going to be a lot of that going on.
Well, that might be the case, but I mean that's going to be up to the kid in general. So, I mean, if that's the case, that's the case. But, I mean, the kid's just going to have to make decisions.
But at that point, do the schools need to come in and say,
no,
you know what?
No.
We're stacking Kentucky and Duke way too much.
Because of where Nike and these these other school, where these endorsements want them to go to school, is what you're saying? So you're going to have like a case where Nike or Adidas
at the high school level
are telling these kids, I want to sign you to Nike, but you need to go to Kentucky.
You got to go to my best school.
You need to go to my best school.
Yeah.
That might happen. That there's always two sides to every coin. That could happen.
Yeah. And then now it's like, damn. Nobody, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, it's like a damn. I don't even know. I wouldn't even know what would happen. Everybody would go to one school.
That's a good point. That's a good point. That is a good point. Because if you do want that endorsement money, they're not gonna want you to go to fucking Wake Forest. You know they're gonna be, they're not going to fucking Lehigh. Like, hey kid,
yeah,
they're gonna need you to be on. You know, that makes sense. I'm not gonna lie, that does make sense. I didn't even think about that. That's a good point, Javi. We'll have to see where this where this lands, where that puts us. You know, but let's move on to our next topic, which is this is something that really, really troubles me. This troubles me a lot, right? So the White House just unveils its strategy to combat domestic extremism. Now, there's a very big problem when it comes to this domestic extremism, what they're posing. And this is a story out of the New York Times, I believe, right? And I'll read it to you straight from the fucking shit.
The excerpt, I guess.
The excerpt, yeah, right. So, the Biden administration on Tuesday unveiled the national strategy to combat domestic extremism, calling for aggressive steps such as hiring more intelligence analysts and screening government employees for ties to hate groups. The 32-page plan highlights a shift in the government's approach to counterterrorism, which for decades has prioritized fighting foreign terrorists. But violent attacks by American extremists are growing, a problem laid bare by the deadly Capitol riot on January 6th. So basically what that says is that the entire war on terror that we levied in the Middle East through our intelligence programs is now going to be levied on the American people, on your neighbor, on your fellow American. If you take what happened on January 6th and you add like 50 more cops, none of this shit happens. We already have laws in place. We already have it. Like, this is just a way for them to expand the surveillance state. Basically going to let the FBI determine what constitutes domestic terrorism, bringing the war on terror home to our front doorstep. You're just going to let the FBI dictate who they consider to be domestic terrorism and act accordingly. It's Patriot Act 2.0. That's all it is. It's a furthering of the surveillance state. And this is the problem. Again, this is the problem when it comes to the what was the word I used earlier? We're talking about Donald Trump. The divisiveness that it comes with him, because everybody looks at these people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th as the other. And I get it, right? They're the other, they're crazy, they're conspiracy theorists, and the other, that's fine, right? But they're also your fellow American. They're your neighbors. And people think that because they didn't fall for that conspiracy theory, which is a dumb one. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to I'm no apologist for these QAnoners or anything like that. They are dipshits, But don't separate yourself from that. Because for 4 years they Russiagated it, and all you liberals believe that the Russian government put Donald Trump into the White House. And you didn't hear anybody talking about how that's an evidence-free, evidenceless conspiracy theory, that the American president is a fucking traitor. We don't talk about how ridiculous that of a notion that is. But then you'll look at these people who follow QAnon as if they're the crazy weird ones. When for 4 fucking years you believe that the Russians put Donald Trump in the White House. Not that Hillary Clinton was such a shitty candidate that nobody wanted to vote for her. And so we like to look at these people as if they're the other, as if that could never be you, that could never be us, that could never be me. I would never fall for nothing that stupid. I would never fall for QAnon. I would never rush the Capitol building and try to overthrow the results of an election. You like to think that's you, but believe me, we are all capable of it. Every single last one of us are just as could have the capability to be just as gullible as those people who rushed that Capitol. And like I said, those are your fellow Americans. And to think that it's a good idea to label these people as domestic fucking terrorists and throw the book at them and throw them away forever is ridiculous, because you're not getting to the root of a problem, which is mistrust. That the media has beclowned themselves so bad and lost the trust of the people so bad that you have hundreds, if not thousands, of people who dive headfirst into conspiracies because of their mistrust of the American media. Whether it's Fox News, whether it's MSNBC, CNN, fucking TYT, you fucking name it, right? So don't think so much of yourself because you didn't go over there and join that riot, or you didn't believe in QAnon. Don't think so much of yourself, because I'm sure there's some ridiculous bullshit that you believe in to this day right now that you don't know is complete fucking nonsense. And the fact that people will willingly usher something like this in, usher in a further of the surveillance state, usher in more censorship. People who call themselves liberals gladly usher in a wave of more censorship because of this perceived domestic terrorist threat that we have in this country. It's ridiculous. Because, you know, a lot of people, and I think the problem is, Javi, right? That a lot of people, they don't ever think that they're going to be on the other side of an argument. You know, most of these people, they go outside and they check which way the wind is blowing and they just follow it. You know, so they never think that they'll ever be on the other side of whatever Twitter mob that's coming after them. They don't, because they don't have original thoughts or ideas in their heads, and they're too scared to ever to push back against any mainstream idea that's out there.
And a lot of these people too, they separate themselves from both sides of the spectrum.
Yes.
And they get to the point where we're in the middle, right? And they're looking at these people like they're crazy. But
extreme centrists.
But at the same time, all it takes is for you to find someone that can kind of pander to you, that can, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
For you to start acting in a way where this guy is right. Damn, now you see a comment section of other people that feel like you, and now you're out in somewhere, marching somewhere, doing something
that you don't even necessarily believe in like that. But whatever they spoke to you, you followed that wave, and here you are now. Here you are amazed that it happens it could happen to anybody.
All it takes is that one little.
It could happen to anybody. It could happen to anybody. Yeah. And so when you know, you're just giving the FBI the free reins to basically call anybody or deem anything domestic terrorism. And God fucking knows what they're gonna end up doing to you and what that brings. They could fucking label me some shit like that.
I be telling people all the time, like, just because you separate yourself doesn't make you untouchable to someone
exactly.
that you can fall for. Just, you know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Hey, we all could end up in that situation. Every single last one of us can be one of them people at those riots, thinking that we're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
You know.
And at the end of the day, what this stops. For like politicians and all that shit, like when they're trying to stop something like this just stops like the attack of the system. Basically, every time you attack the system, we're gonna try to take something from you because these people are crazy. They're terrorists now.
Yeah.
So because these people are doing this, we don't want this to ever happen again, and we don't want this government to ever feel like it's threatened. So let's go ahead and find a strategy to stop.
But there's already laws. We already have laws in place for this. You don't need to add any more laws or draw some fucking, you know, some team up to stop something like this. You add 50 cops to that fucking, none of that shit happens. You add 50 more cops to this shit, it's a whole different story. But because that's not the case, we have to ramp up the surveillance state here in this country, create new domestic terrorist laws. What are we doing? That's so ridiculous, you know?
People aren't smart enough to think, like them at least. They're too old to think outside the box and say, this is not the way we got to go forward. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I think in 20 years from now, 30 years from now, let's just say something like this happens again. I don't know if the leaders 20, 30 years from now respond the same way. Just because of everyone now is born different and more open. Everybody coming up to probably be a leader is more open than what people were before. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think most of it has to do with closed-minded politicians that feel like they're being threatened because people are now starting to kind of slowly get it and ask questions and be angry.
Well, yeah. Again, a lot of that has to do back to the whole mistrust thing. Because the mistrust in the media, and it's like you've gone about this in the media. You've gone about coddling the American people to the point where people want to just be told the truth, you know. And you lost all credibility in the media to the point where people would rather believe in QAnon than CNN.
People want to like.
And they look at them, or they look at people like me as the problem instead of their own fucking network. The other day, who was it, Brian Stelter on CNN? The motherfucker asked Jen Psaki, the press secretary, what is us as the media getting wrong? Like, what? You're supposed to be a fucking journalist. and you're asking the press secretary what you're doing wrong? What kind of shit is that? Imagine me sucking up to some fucking politician like, hey, buddy, so, I know I don't agree with this and I think this thing is bad, but what is about my opinions that are wrong? Like, what the fuck? These people, man, they're fucking clowns. They're fucking clowns. And they want to point to people like me, the Jamie Dores, the, Breaking Points or Crystal and Sari. They want to point to independent media voices as the problem, as if we're the ones that are liars, even though we are held to a higher standard than they are. Fuck it, I'm getting hot. I'm getting hot, Javi.
This room ain't got enough ventilation in this bitch.
But these motherfuckers, man. These motherfuckers. I get censored on Instagram and YouTube and all this shit for what? When mainstream media, they can peddle whatever conspiracy theory they fucking want to. Fucking bullshit. Moving on. 2, our hot takes. Now, if you're not familiar with hot takes, our hot takes is where you, the viewer, send in, usually you comment on my Instagram or on my Twitter, a question that you would want to, a question that you want to ask me, whether it be about politics or whatever, honestly, anything that's in my realm that I can answer, I do. And so this question comes from Thank God for Pain. He asks, what do I think of what's going on with the housing market right now? That's a good question. Now, I'm thinking what you're talking about is private equity coming into the housing market. Because there's a situation right now where you're having these private equity firms coming in with cash at above market price and just buying up houses. And especially with the looming, there's going to be an eviction problem coming up pretty soon. I think after this month, the moratorium on eviction ends. So you're going to have private equity firms coming in at above market price with cash, buying up as much real estate as possible, making it hard for your everyday average person to buy a house, which is basically the barrier to entry into wealth in this country. And so yeah, if you ask me, I think it's crazy. I think it's bullshit, And the fact that that somebody like me or you is going to have to compete with some private equity firm that has basically unlimited cash or line of credit, and you're going to have to compete with them to try to buy a home, is crazy. It's nonsense, and that's where we're at. The future of housing. That's kind of where we're at. It's troubling, and we're probably not going to see the effects of it for the next 5 to 6 years. But when that does hit, it's going to be devastating, and we're already a nation of renters, and it's just and for what's happening now, especially with the eviction moratorium that's ending, it's only going to be worse. So I hope that answers your question, my brother, and I thank you for asking. But we are moving right along. This is a jam-packed episode today. To my main story tonight. Now, buckle in. It's going to be a good one. It took me a lot of time. So, my main story tonight is on this worker shortage we seem to be facing in America. So, American Airlines says they will be canceling 80 to 100 flights daily in June and 100 or more in July due to a shortage in staff and maintenance issues. Now, if we go back to around this time last year, when the first stimulus package passed, American Airlines used their employees as leverage to get personalized legislation written into the COVID relief bill, threatening to fire 30,000 of their employees if it didn't get a personalized bailout. And in true form of tradition, the United States government bowed down to corporations and gave them exactly what they wanted with almost no strings attached. And as soon as they were no longer required to keep all their employees, they fired 30,000 of them. Now they are complaining that they're having a worker shortage, even though they are the ones that put themselves in this position. Fast food and other restaurants are having a hard time hiring staff or getting their old staff back. Now, if you ask the Republicans, they're going to blame the workers for being lazy because the government gave them a check for the past year and a half, and they don't want to go back to work. Not the fact that the government made a purposeful choice to put 30 million people on unemployment instead of keeping people attached to their jobs through subsidies that would have made their employers pay them and not an unemployment program. And maybe people over the past year had the opportunity to rethink their lives or what they want to do with their life. People probably like being at home with their kids. They like being at working from home. And when their jobs made them come back into the office, they decided to explore their options. Because for once, they actually have the leverage. The fact that employers are complaining that they have to compete with what the government gives away is laughable. The situation in regards to this worker shortage is a problem we created ourselves. And now that people have seen what life is like on the other side, they don't want to go back. People don't want to go back to flipping burgers for minimum wage. They don't want to go back to sitting in the office for half their day making somebody else rich, especially when they see kids getting rich off of cryptocurrency and fucking Reddit blogs. The future of employment in this country, the future of employment in America is a complicated one because, with all this being said, there's another side to this, and let me start that over. The future of employment in America is a complicated one because as much as I love to see big corporations bleed and be forced to pay livable wages to bring people back into the labor market, there is another side to this coin. I'm sure many of you have noticed there's a shortage of just about everything. Currently, we're in a shortage of chicken, diapers, new cars, computer chips, semiconductors, and much, much, much more. Currently, our infrastructure is literally crumbling as bridges. Currently, our infrastructure is literally crumbling as bridges daily across the nations are falling. Miami was just the situation in Miami, where a multi-story condominium collapsed, which will result in hundreds of people dead. And this is only getting worse. Now, I wrote this story because, again, as much as I love to see corporations bleed and be forced to do anything they can to bring people back into the workforce, it is still our collective responsibility to bring this country back. We have to rebuild this country. We have to restock this country. As the working class people of the United States, the burden of building the future of this nation will be placed on the shoulders of ours and future generations. Now, I'm not telling you to sell yourself short. Keep demanding livable wages. Keep demanding quality work conditions. But please, let's get back to work. And Javi, I again, I didn't quite get all the way into it, but the situation we're having with workers is a major one, and the idea that we're going through some worker shortage is kind of bullshit. I think it's just more of a reassessment. People are reevaluating what they're doing in life, what they want to do in life. And that's where we are now. But again, we need to rebuild this country. I mean, on the daily, I'm talking about bridges, buildings on a daily basis are falling. The infrastructure in this country hasn't been updated in 60 fucking years. We need to move into the future of all of that. And we need to get back to work. We need to, because it is our collective responsibility. It's whether we like it or not. That burden is going to fall on us, and we need to. And hope you guys like that. I just got a text from Dr. Jamie. I think he's ready. So I have another story later, but before we get into that, we'll be right back. I'm gonna get Jamie on the phone, and we're gonna go through talk to him for a little bit. So give me a second. So we're back. So, like I said, I told you we were gonna have Dr. Jamie on. Earlier. He's supposed to be in the beginning of the show, but he's an asshole, so we had to push it back till later. But he's here now. And so, for all of you who don't know, Jamie, he is a pulmonary and critical care physician, a national spokesperson for the American Lung Association, assistant clinical professional of internal medicine at UCR School of Medicine. That was my old job, by the way. The medical director and CEO of Rutland Medical Group, West Coast Lung, and the host of Medicine Deconstructed on YouTube, our friend, Dr. Jamie Rutland.
Yo, what's going on? Thanks for the welcome.
My brother. Thank you, man. And happy birthday. Happy birthday, by the way. My boy Jamie just turned big 4-0. And, I say it every time he's on, but, Jamie's a very big part of the show. He's a very big reason why we were even able to do this show. And I'm very grateful for this man and his time. So,
but he's not grateful enough because he didn't bless his presence in Las Vegas.
Man, I got a family, Jamie. I have a family. Damn it.
Yeah, we all got families, brother.
Well, you right. I'm sorry. Listen, brother. I hope you have a good time. Was it worth it?
Bruh. Yes.
I know you just get.
That's all I'm gonna say. Yes.
That's right, man. Thank you. Thank you again, man, for coming. So, let's get into it. The first question I wanted to ask you, though, Jamie, is this Delta variant, right?
Yeah.
This Delta variant has been dominating the news lately, and I wanted to know how worried or not should we be about it?
I think if you're a vaccinated individual, you go about your life, we are going to recommend that people, even if you're vaccinated, if you're in a tough crowd, if you're in a big crowd, to go ahead and wear a mask. But the thing that people worry about, and the reason why people are worried, is if you're unvaccinated, it's just easily transmissible and its infectivity is pretty high. So you're going to get it. And it's hunting people. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, is it any more deadly?
It may be. I think in terms of the death rate, it'll probably be similar, but I think people are going to be able to get sick easier. So, it's always that's always an interesting question. Is it more deadly? It's really, things are more deadly when more people get it. So if more people get it because it's easily transmissible and its infectivity is high, then if more people get sick, more people are going to have the opportunity to die. So, that's always a tough question when people say that, especially this early in the game with this variant.
Well, like I said, it's been dominating the news lately, and I wasn't quite sure how to take it because, again, I hear a lot of it being highly transmissible, much more transmissible, but at the same time, we're almost at we're almost at a point where we're having 0 deaths here in the nation. So at one point, on one hand, it's like, things are getting better. People aren't dying from this virus anymore. But now we're having the introduction of this variant that's kind of running through the nation again. And, it's we're kind of looking at it like people are looking at the, and like for somebody like me, I'm confused.
Yeah, again, and we've talked about this before. I think the biggest thing is people have to have an understanding of immunology and the way cells communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing is a lot of times with messaging, there's messaging in the United States, there's messaging in California, there's messaging worldwide. And a lot of the times the messages sound like they are different. And people that are trained in science and trained in what coronavirus is on a daily basis, we can separate out the nuances and really get an understanding of the main message. But it's really hard when you're not trained that way. And so I can tell you right now, I was just arguing with about 25 other doctors in a big group
Mm-hmm.
about this very thing, where one of my boys had said, listen, if you've had the infection, you don't need to get vaccinated. Your immunity is just as strong. And I kind of lean more towards that. I think that when I evaluate those patients, they seem to have the same level of immunity for what it's worth than other individuals, but they are not as diverse in terms of being able to fight the spike protein, which is what defines what a variant is.
Yeah.
But it's anyway, it's an interesting time, but I think the message is simple. And the message is
what's that? Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The message is if you haven't been vaccinated and you haven't had the infection, you need to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
If you have been vaccinated, okay, or if you have had the infection, then you need to be evaluated by a physician and let that physician test you to see if you have immunity towards the most likely protein that's going to cause mischief, which is the spike protein. And then you go from there. But again, our energy and our efforts should be directed at people who have not been infected and who have not been vaccinated. They need to be vaccinated as soon as possible.
Well, that leads me right into my second question, which is that vaccine rates are on the decline. And I wanted to get from your perspective, it was a, good or bad thing, that maybe, is that a sign that we're getting to a point where most of the country is vaccinated? Or is it just, or a lot more people need to be vaccinated? We still have a long way to go in terms of vaccination and vaccinating the country.
Yeah, we probably still have a little bit of a ways to go in terms of vaccinating the country. But I think what you're finding and what we're reaching here is this point where people who don't want to get vaccinated aren't going to get vaccinated, right? It's going to be hard.
Mm-hmm.
But every 2 weeks or so, I always participate in a webinar with this private health company that I do consulting for, running their COVID-19 division currently.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, probably about 20% of the people are waiting to get their second shot or are waiting to get their first shot. Like, they're going to get it. They're just waiting to have an opportunity. So I think seeing declining rates is something you were going to see naturally as the pandemic went on. But I'm not alarmed by it. And again, but I'm not one of those guys that trips over it. Like, if you want to get vaccinated, get vaccinated. If you don't. It doesn't bother me.
Well, it's funny. I know Andrew Cuomo's in a lot of hot water right now, but he actually said something that was pretty smart, that I thought that was pretty smart the other day. And somebody asked him about unvaccinated people, because they're lifting a lot of mask mandates and stuff like that around the country. And Governor Cuomo, he quite simply said, like, hey, if you're vaccinated, don't worry about it. If you're a vaccinated person, don't worry about what these people who are unvaccinated, and I think we've had this conversation about messaging before, and I know we haven't always agreed about this, but I think, again, the messaging that it comes along with this vaccination has been wrong from the beginning. I think the messaging should always be incentivized. It should have always been, hey, you want to get back to normal? Well, get the vaccine. Hey, you want to stop wearing a mask? Get the vaccine, and I think proving that the vaccine works. But I think the problem is that you have people like Joanne, a lot of people on liberal media, and I'm not trying to place you on anywhere on, the political scale or anything like that, right? But I think a big problem that we have in liberal media is that there's still a lot of fear mongering that goes along with what's going on with people who aren't vaccinated or people who don't wear masks. When it's like, if these things work, then you shouldn't be fear mongering. You should just be proving to people that they work. that was my only argument. That was my biggest argument when it came to messaging, where it was just like, if that
but
thing
I mean,
works,
hell, I mean,
then prove it. Like, not prove it, but I mean, act like it.
Yeah, but I mean, the news is the news. That's what the news does. I mean, what's all over the news?
Hello?
Why are people caring about that?
Because it's the same reason why they want to see high speed
people are scared of dying.
Who shot Pookie? That shit sells. Fear sells.
Exactly. Fear sells. Are you there?
Yeah, I hear you. It was cutting out for a little bit, but I got you.
Are you guys there?
Yeah, I got you.
Are you
I hear you.
There? Yeah.
Oh. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you?
Yeah, I mean, fear sells. So we can't criticize. We can't criticize people over fear. I mean, we can't. I mean, that's just what sells.
I'm just criticizing.
I don't look at the news that way. I mean, that's just what they're going to do, right?
I think that's the problem. The bigger problem is the people who are fear mongering. I think they're the problem. But that's kind of besides the point. But another question I did want to ask you was, so going forward, right? And I know I've asked you this before in previous things, but I feel like we're kind of in a different space now in America. And what I wanted to ask you is,
yes,
how do you think going forward with America reopening, what are the things we need to do to just stay safe?
Look, we got to continue again. This is just my suggestion, and I'm somebody that honestly just got off a plane from Las Vegas. But my suggestion is, if you're in a large group of individuals and you don't have your own personal space, then you need to be wearing a mask, okay? Especially if you're unvaccinated. But I think to stay safe in this country, to continue to move forward, people just need to get vaccinated. If you haven't had the infection, get vaccinated. I can understand the questions if you have had the infection. I'm with you. I got it. Like, please, that's fine. Please go see somebody like me that thinks that way and will test you in a certain way to make certain that your immune system is optimized and has everything it needs to handle you being exposed to a variant of some kind. So those are things that I would say. And again, you want to do the things that aren't bad for you, right? You don't want to smoke. You don't want to drink alcohol all the time. You don't want to do the things that are going to not allow your body to fight something when you're exposed to it.
Jim,
so,
I quit smoking cigarettes and I quit vaping.
What?
I quit smoking cigarettes. I quit vaping. I'm done.
Wow.
I know.
Wow.
That's what I said. I didn't even think it was ever possible. I smoked cigarettes since I was fucking 14.
Wow. Wait, so how did that happen?
Well, the cigarettes, it's kind of funny with cigarettes, right? I literally went into the gas station, my normal routine, to buy a pack of cigarettes, and I went in there and I was just over it, and I've tried quitting smoking before, but I realized it was really just in that moment that I was just done. I got to this point where I was tired of feeling like shit all the time. I just did not want to fucking deal with it anymore. And so I started vaping, and I let that kind of take over. And it was nice that I quit smoking cigarettes, but I still had this crutch of vaping. And then, in the course of vaping, I started getting these weird, just these weird chest pains. And it really scared me. And, I have a family, I'm married, I have kids. And, I started just looking at life, and I'm just like, I'm thinking, I thought I was doing good because I quit smoking cigarettes, but here I am with just another vice that's just leaving me in the same place I was before. And so I decided to cut that off too. And here we are. It's been over 2 years I haven't smoked cigarette. Well, I smoke a cigarette every now and then, don't get me wrong. But I haven't bought a pack of cigarettes. Like I don't smoke, you feel me? Like I might hit one of my friend's cigarettes or something like that, but I don't buy cigarettes anymore. I don't smoke cigarettes, Like I said, I might have a beer and share a cigarette with one of my friends, but it's not the normal. It's not normal. It's not something I do all the time. And vaping, I don't do at all.
Gotcha.
Anymore.
I got you.
And so, yeah, that's where we are today. So I'm hoping that, hopefully that all those, the 15 years I was an addict of nicotine, I can get some of those years back, maybe.
you can get some of those years back. But we'll discuss it. We'll make sure your lungs are monitored as they need to be as you move forward in your life.
Thank you, man. Hey, Jamie. Thank you, brother. It's always a pleasure, man. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for joining us tonight and giving us this update. And I know I'll see you soon. Whenever I see you back in the shop, probably next week too. And then we just got a shop upgrade too. Gold chairs, new stations. Looks nice in there.
I know. That's why you guys weren't in Vegas this weekend.
I know.
All right, y'all. All right.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you. All right. Take care, man. Good night.
No problem. Take care.
Good night. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't he the best? Isn't he the fucking best? Man, I love that guy, man. Fucking Dr. Jamie, man. Give him a follow at Dr. Jamie Rutland. I'll try to put his stuff in the description when I put this video on YouTube. I'll have this. You know what I'll do? I'll put this whole if you go to my Instagram, I'll put this whole interview up on Instagram, and make sure you guys stop by, give him a follow. He's a fucking great guy, and moving in, we're closing in on the end of this show. It's been a fucking great fucking show today, Javi. God damn, this show is great, man. Fuck. But something that I used to do a lot, our old viewers of this show know we have a segment of the show that we called L of the Week. And guess what, motherfuckers? It's back. Look at this brand new, fresh L. No names on it. Nothing. And you know who's getting their name put on this fresh L? Is this motherfucker right here, Andrew Yang. Now, Andrew Yang thrust himself onto the scene during his bid for the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. He was somebody I considered to be a smart guy, with original ideas, and not a politician. He is someone I've spoken very positively for. I supported his stance on UBI. I understand the need for UBI, especially with the advancements of artificial intelligence. Now, he was just running for mayor of New York City, and early up until just last May was the clear front runner and had a real chance at winning. But as of just last Wednesday, the 23rd, he has since conceded. But that's not why he's getting the L of the week. He's getting the L of the week because Andrew Yang is a perfect example of what happens when you take a person who's not a politician and turn him into a politician. Now, just as early as March, you see him clearly in front. Now, and even up until this moment, he had said some weird things here and there, supported some causes here and there, but by and large, he was still doing very well. The people like myself, I don't live in New York, so I didn't have it's not like I had a chance to vote for him or anything like that in this race, but I still supported the guy, I was happy for him that he was winning this race and could potentially be the next mayor of one of the biggest cities in America. Now, in March, he was leading this race. Then he decided to become a slimy politician and pander to the large Jewish population in New York and support genocide. With this fucking tweet. I mean, are you kidding me? Now, I'm sure all you guys saw the images out of Israel and Palestine, and how Israel is just basically, and has been for many, many, many years, committing a slow genocide of the Palestinian people, a people with no military of their own, a people who since 1948 have had their land being taken and stripped from them. This was Andrew Yang's thoughts on it, which is, I'm standing with the people of Israel who are coming under bombardment attacks. I condemn the Hamas terrorists. The people of New York City always stand with the brothers and sisters of Israel who face down terrorism and persevere. Now, this is the thing, right? The thing I like the most about Andrew Yang is that when he spoke words, I always viewed them to be his own. But this tweet is him with some campaign manager with their hand all the way up his fucking ass, making him whore himself out for votes. And as soon as he tweeted that out, he fell right off a fucking cliff. Because the people like me and the others who supported him, because they thought he was genuinely a genuine person, saw and understood that this isn't his words. This is some campaign. This is him being a slimy fucking politician. The very thing that people hate in this country and liked so much about him was that he wasn't that slimy fucking politician. And then he just went and became one. Imagine me in this show, right? This show in its current status becoming wildly popular. And in the midst of it becoming wildly popular because of what me and Javi did with this show, and in the midst of it becoming wildly popular, we decide, hey, let's get a CEO. Hey, let's get a producer. Let's get somebody to get in our ear and change everything that made this show what it is into something totally different, because now I want to win now. Now it's not about me giving information to you, the viewer. Now it's just about me winning. Now it's just about me turning this into some conglomerate that doles out checks to whoever ends up working for me. It's just a product now. That's what Andrew Yang became. He's just a product now on a fucking shelf. The very thing that he was anti. Andrew Yang was anti-establishment. He was anti-politician. Original, good ideas, a thinker. And now that he wanted to become a politician and the mayor of New York City, you tweet dumb shit like this. You just whore yourself out for votes. And you lose all the support of the people who had your back since day fucking one, Andrew Yang. You fucking clown. You totally clown and betrayed your own fucking following with one tweet. One tweet. You should be embarrassed of yourself. And for that, you get the very first name on the L of the Week. This here belongs to you now. Mr. Yang. And listen, ladies and gentlemen, is this the right way? This is the right way right here? This is right side? I don't even know. I hope it is. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, all right? If I'm holding this right now and it's backwards to you, I'm sorry. All right?
Yeah, that's the way.
Just fucking deal with it, all right? But fucking Andrew, man. You get that whole top side, Andrew. For just be clowning yourself and letting whatever slimy campaign manager fit their whole fucking fist up your ass, whole arm up your ass, all the way up to your mouth, and make you tweet some bullshit out like that. So, you get this, you fucking loser. And, I donated to his campaign. I think you did too, didn't you, Abby? I donated to this man. I respected this guy, man, and he made it as far as he did without the help of the fucking media that wouldn't give him an interview, anything. He'd be on those campaign stages, they give him 30 seconds to talk. And he still managed his way through. He held in longer than fucking Kamala Harris did, and she the fucking vice president. What kind of shit is that? And now you're just going to fall into into honestly nowhere, because all your support from the people who supported you is gone. We don't trust you anymore. I don't trust you anymore. You've just become another slimy politician. You got the L of the Week, so now all the illustrious viewers of this show know how much of a loser that you are. And it is what it is. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It is so good to be back. Today was a great episode. I hope you guys all liked it. And we'll be back soon. Probably not next week, but the week after. I'll make sure I bring some more bring the same heat with me on the next episode. And until then, stay out of trouble, kids. We'll see you.